everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be looking at this science curriculum called the Sassafras Science Adventures. And rather than being delivered through a textbook format where you have a standard textbook with all the information, the facts kind of delivered in a kind of dry way with pictures to coincide with it, this is delivered in a living book method, which means that it's following the story. You've got a chapter book, and all of the information that you're going to be covering with your children and your kids are going to be learning about are in the story. And you're following the story of the Sassafras twins, who are these guys on the cover here. And you've got them on the back too. So the Sassafras twins, Blaine and Tracy, and their crazy scientist, Uncle Cecil, and his pet dog. And they go on these amazing science adventures around the world, learning about different areas of science per volume. So this is volume 1, and it's covering zoology. There are 8 volumes altogether, and they cover anatomy, botany, geology, earth science, astronomy, chemistry, and physics. And there are 4 books altogether. So you've got the curriculum spine, as it were, which is the chapter book. And then there's actually a lap book, which I don't have here, but there's a lap book aimed at your little learners. And then you've got the log book for slightly older learners, and then the Sassafras guide. So as a whole, this curriculum is aimed at children aged between 5 and 11. So this is for your primary age children. And we're going to just jump straight in and have a look at what this looks like throughout. So you've got your chapter book, as I said. In each chapter, you're following the twins going on adventures in different parts of the world, and they're learning about different animals as they go to these different habitats all around the world and where they're located. So you're learning about habitats, you're learning a bit of geography, you're learning about different animals and classifications of living things and all this type of stuff. So it's all in here, but it's done in a way that is really clever and very engaging and quite humorous and funny as you're reading through the chapter book as a read aloud with your children. So we tended to pick read a section aloud each, and then as they're reading it, they're going to come across the things that they're learning about, and they're going to record that in their logbook. So if we have a look at the logbook, this is essentially the student's activity book, or the student book. So this is where they're going to record everything that they've been learning about, including vocabulary that they've come across that is new to them, like hibernation, migration. They're going to be writing the definitions as they come across these words in the story. There's map work in here as well, so they're going to be locating the different countries that they're finding these habitats in, and they're going to record, they're going to mark on the map where those different countries are, which continents they're in, and things like that. And then they're going to break down the information about the different animals that they're learning about that they come across in the story. So it's really clearly laid out. You can buy the logbook, or you can choose to just set up your own notebook where they're going to record their information and the projects and things that they're doing. They do have a section in the logbook where they can take a picture or draw projects that they've been doing, because there are hands-on projects to do as well. And then the lap book is similar, but rather than having so much writing, it's going to be creating a lap book instead. That's going to have the information about what they've been learning about for your younger learners. And then once we come across to this is the Sassafras guide. This is the parent's guide. So this is more for you as the parent, and it will show you the different activities that are going to be done per chapter, and it will guide you through that. We're going to come back to these pages. But if I get through to, for example, here, chapter 1, and all the other chapters are laid out in the same way as chapter 1 is. So they're all quite uniform. But as you come through to the different chapters in your guide, which line up with the chapters in the storybook. So chapter 1 is going to line up with chapter 1 in your storybook. It's going to give you a summary of what's happening in that chapter. any supplies that are needed for experiments for that specific chapter, and also projects and activities for that specific chapter as well. And then it also gives you this, which is really helpful, and it's a like a guide for how you might want to schedule this curriculum into your home educating schedule at home. So you can do science over 2 days, and this will show you an example of what a 2-day science schedule might look like. So on day 1 of science, say if you did science, you did Monday to Friday home education. On perhaps Mondays and Thursdays, you might want to do your science curriculum. So on day 1, this is what you'd be covering, and on day 2, this could be what you're covering. So it's just to really guide you as to how you might want to fit that into your learning week. And then there's also an optional 5-day schedule if you wanted to maybe break it down and do a little bit of science each day. So that's really helpful as a guide for you. And then you've got your books. So the books that are relevant to that particular chapter are going to be found under that chapter in your guide. So the Living Book Spine is the storybook. And then you've got these optional encyclopedia readings, and it suggests a couple of encyclopedias and what pages you're going to find the information that will correlate to what's happening in that particular chapter. And then it will suggest additional library books that you may want to get out or purchase or get a hold of in some way. The notebooking section is to do with the logbook. So this is, because it's in chapter 1, this is just helping you to get familiar with the logbook, how you're going to set the logbook up, or your own notebook if you're choosing not to use the logbook. And just the headings and what's going to be under each of those headings when it's referring to it further on in the book, so you can get clear as to what's happening in each section of the logbook and you know how to use it. Scientific demonstration, these are the experiments. So chapter 1 is an observation walk, so it's letting you know this is what it's suggesting for you to do and what kind of questions you might want to ask and guide your children with answering. And then you've got your hands-on projects and activities for that chapter as well. And then what is quite typical of a Charlotte Mason style or inspired type of education, which tends to use living books mostly, is you've got copywork and dictation. So copywork is perhaps you'd write the copywork section on your board or on something at home that your younger ones will just copy it straight from what you've written it onto into their books. And then perhaps for your older children, you would dictate. So you would read this out loud, and then it would be written as they would write it down as you're reading it. And you've got space to write your notes as well. And then going forward, each chapter is set up in the same way. So if we flip back towards the beginning of the book, for the guide, it's just letting you know what each chapter contains here, and it's explaining a little bit about this particular curriculum and the style of the living books method and what that looks like. And you get to see here a book list of the different books that it's suggesting for each chapter. So this is again the main text, which is the spine, the suggested encyclopedia readings. You've got some links in the book as well that you can download additional resources. And then here it's going to break down in one place, chapter by chapter, all of the additional library books. So this is essentially a book list that's at the front of the book. But as you're going through the book, it's going to just suggest those books relevant to the specific chapter or you're working on. But here you can see it all in one kind of go. So if you were looking at preparing for the next chapter that you're going to be going into, say you were on chapter 5 and you're getting ready to go on to chapter 6, then you could easily just kind of come here and just look ahead and see, okay, these are the books that I might want to have a look at for and get out of the library or get a hold of, or see if I already have my bookshelf, so that I can be prepared for teaching chapter 6 as we reach it. And so I find that really helpful, that it does just let you see ahead, and it just summarizes everything in one place, so it's easy to prepare and to plan. And then it does the same for your science demonstrations, which are your science experiments. So it lets you know what materials and supplies you're going to be needing for each of the demonstrations by chapter. And they're often things that you can find in the house really easily, or just around outside, like leaves and twigs, coffee cup. There's plenty of those in my house. Potting soil, gravel. They're things that are quite easy to find. They're not things that you'd need to spend a whole heap of money on. And then on this page, it's going to give you a list of supplies needed for all of the projects and activities that are listed throughout the guidebook as well. And again, it's things that you'll easily find around the house. So again, nothing that's going to be really expensive to get. And then you've got similar to inside of the novel book, you've got the list of characters, their names, and where you're going to find them as you go through the book, which habitat, which part of the world they're in, and what they do. At the back of the book, you've got this appendix. So this is where you'd find pages that you would photocopy for your children to fill in alongside any activities that they're doing or science experiments. You've got your lab report sheet, and then you've got some small animal pictures, and you've got larger pictures of some of the habitats that are being covered. And you just photocopy those in line with the activities throughout the book where it's directing you to do so. You can use these. And you've got their life cycle of a frog, etc. And then at the very back, you've got a glossary. This will help you with filling in the vocabulary terms with your kids. Looking at the definitions of the words that they're going to put in their logbook under vocabulary. And then you've got quizzes. So you've got the quiz answer key just here. And then you've got the quiz questions based on the chapters. And they are quite simple. They're not complex, in-depth questions. It's just really going to help you to see what information that they're retaining and understanding from what they've learned. And then, yeah, this is something that you can do alongside the logbook. So that is the Sassafras Science Adventures curriculum. And I hope you really found this flip through helpful. So do let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Do you think this is something that you would use? Or if you have any questions about this curriculum or one of the other volumes, or if there are any other books that you might want to see a flip through or review of, then do let me know in the comments below. See you next time.